Next Kina, Mem Aleph and 105. Shali Srufa Ba'esh. This Kina was written by the Maram Rottenberg, who was a witness to the burning of the Talmud in France in 1248. The Exile was brought about by a mummer, Donan, a Meshumid, who went to the Pope and told him terrible things about what's included in the Gemara. And there was an archbishop who tried to save the Talmud. Here's a Yiddish mummer who was going. This archbishop put his life on the line. Unfortunately, after he made efforts to save the Svarim from being burned, wagon load upon wagon load upon wagon load of Svarim, most of the Ksovim of the Baliatosis were burnt then. How much Torah we lost from this. That archbishop died suddenly, and they saw it as a sign of God's revenge against him for trying to help the Jews. I want to speak briefly. The Graf Patotsky, Avram ben Avram, the Ger Tzedek in the time of the Vilna Gaon, said that when the Torah was offered to the Goyim, they rejected it. But not everybody rejected it. Rove of them did. There were a miyut of Goyim that wanted the Torah, but they were outvoted, each nation. And when the Torah was offered to the Yidden, even though he said Nasa v'nishma, there were a miyut of Jews in their heart didn't really want it. He said, throughout history, the Jews that become Mishumadim and end up leaving Klal Yisrael were descendants of those Jews that didn't want the Torah to begin with. And even though throughout their generations there may have been great tzaddikim, but not everybody is connected to everybody that came before just because they have to be born from them. But the people who eventually went out of Klal Yisrael were connected directly, neshama-wise, to those people who rejected the Torah. And all from the Goyim who wanted the Torah, their descendants eventually become Gerim. And those were the Gerim come. The special mitzvah of Ahava Sager. And unfortunately, many times, people don't treat Gerim properly, especially when it comes to Shidduchim. The person should understand, aside from the mitzvah of Yahavta, Kamocha, there's a separate mitzvah of Yahavta Sager. It's even greater than loving a regular Jew. It's a mitzvah to love Gerim. We read you a tshuva from the Rambam. I think that will be enough. Besides the fact that the Torah commands us in 36 places to be careful of the covet of a ger and not to be mitzayer them. This tshuva was written to a convert, and a Muslim convert, a person who was a Muslim. He converted to Judaism. And he had a machlokas with his Rabbi. The Rebbe said that Islam is avodah zarah. This guy had first-hand information that it wasn't. So he disagreed with his Rebbe. He said that it's not avodah zarah. So the Rebbe called him a fool and whatever. And he was very much hurt. And he wrote a letter to the Rambam. First of all, to ask, who's right, me or my Rebbe? Is Islam avodah zarah or not? And he told the Rambam what transpired. So the Rambam first answers him halacha-wise that you're right. Islam is not avodah zarah, and your Rebbe was wrong. And then he says the following: V'asher heshivcha rabcha shelo kehugin, v'hetzivcha v'hichlimcha v'koracha ksil. That which your Rebbe, aside from arguing with you and being wrong, but he also answered you improperly, and he upset you, and he insulted you, and he called you a fool. Aveira gedola biyado v'cheit gadol chata. Your Rebbe did a terrible aveira. However, I'm done in the kapschus v'kora b'einai shogeku. Probably he did it unwittingly. V'roi lo levakesh mimcha mechila. You should know your Rebbe should ask you mechila. Afal pisha ata talmido, even though you're his talmid. V'achar kach yotzum v'yizak v'yispalel v'yikona. After that, after you're mochel him, he should fast, cry out, and daven, and humble himself before the Rabbanu Shalom. Ulai yischaper lo v'yimchalo hakel yisalam. Maybe God will also forgive him. V'chi shikr hayazeh. Was your Rebbe shikr? V'lo yoda shebishloshe v'sheish makomos hizira Torah lager. 36 places the Torah was mazer how to treat a ger properly. V'aye dover v'ger lo sonu v'hi onas dvorim. And he hurt your feelings. Lu omar hu ha'emes v'yisa atoa atoem v'yalo lahasber l'chaponim l'daber l'charakos. Even if you were wrong and he was right, he should have dealt with you softly and calmly and not insulted you. Kol shekei shomar to'emes v'u'atoem. Surely that you were right and he was wrong. V'od shezed dorish achar ha'yishmaelim in heimot avodah zarah lav. Your Rebbe has shaila whether Islam is avodah zarah or not. Hayalo lochush li'atzmo. He should have worried about himself if he's an oved avodah zarah. Alakas shekoas at shehichlin ger tzedek shelo kedid. The Omru Chazal kol hakoes yibeinecha koved avodah zarah. The fact that he lost his temper on a ger tzedek, he should first decide if he's an oved avodah zarah before he worries about the Muslim. Da shechova shechiyatonu atorah al hagerim gedolehi al ho'avi al ho'ein nitzadinu b'koved umorah. A father and mother you have to respect and honor. Al neviim l'shmo alohem. A navi you have to listen to. Ve'efshir she'yachabir odam v'yira v'yishma mimi she'enu avo. It's possible to respect, honor, and obey somebody you don't love. By gerim to love them. Just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you have to es Hashem Elokecha, the same lashon behavta es hager. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bichvodo oed ger. The Rabban Shem loves gerim. Shenemar the oed ger loseis lo lechem v'simla. He called you a fool. Tema Gogahu. That's a wonder. You're a fool. Adam Shiniach Avi v'moladito. Umalchus Amo. The Yodam Hanetuya. The Haven Be'ein Libo. Uba v'nidbak b'uma shahaya hayom mitav goy. Eved mostly. The Hikr. The Yoda Shedosam das Emes. The Tzedek. The Hovein Darche Yisrael. The Yoda Shekol Adosos Ginuvos midosam zeh. Mosi, zeh mosi, zeh goreya. Zeh meshana, zeh mechazeh. Umechapel al Hashem dvarim asher lo kein. Zeh hores yisodos, zeh medaber tapuchos. The hikar hakol. Person who recognizes that all the other religions are false. They're ziyufim of Yadus. And this person recognized that and ran after the Rabbanu Shalom. The Ahava b'derech HaKodesh. The Nichnos tachas kanpei Sina. The Nisabek ba'ofer raglei Moshe Rabbeinu Rabban shekla neviim. He sat at the feet of Moshe Rabbeinu. The chafetz b'mitzvosav, and he wanted to do mitzvahs. The naso libo lekorbo leor b'orachayim ulahalos b'malos hamalachim l'smoach l'sanig b'simchas hatzadikim. The hishlich ha'olam hazeh milibo. Could have had everything in this world. He threw it away. He was part of a nation that ruled the world. And he joined a nation that now are slaves. The shate kosa, misha zuma loso ksil yikare. This is what you call a fool. Chalila lecha, lo ksil kora Hashem shemecha. Your Rebbe may have called you a fool, but not the Rabbi Shalom. Ela maskilu neivinu pikeach, v'holech nechokos, talmido shel Avram Avinu, shiniach avosav u'moladet hovanot achrei Hashem. Umisha berech es Avram rabcha, v'nosan lo scharo b'olam hazeh l'olam haba, hu yivorech o schar, v'yitein lecha scharcha karoi b'olam hazeh, u'la'olam haba, v'yarech yonecha ad shetorah b'mishpatei Hashem, v'chol adoso, v'yizaka oscha liros v'chol hanechomos, v'asidos v'Yisrael, v'hoyo hatova hu asher yetim Hashem imanu, v'etav l'lov, ki Hashem diber tov al Yisrael. Moshe b'Ramayim. That's how a person has to look at Judaism. And those people who, one Maisa, the family that I'm very, very close with in America, we were Megayer, the mother, the wife, and they're mamish like children of mine. They've been here a few times, people know who they are. In any case, when the children were young, the girls went to a famous Beis Yaakov, a nice Beis Yaakov in America, and she called me and she said, the next time in America, could I please speak to her daughters? Because they must have been in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, those grades at the time, and their classmates are making fun of them, mocking them. Why? Because the girls in the class asked these girls, how come when Rabbi Leff is in America, he always stays in your house? So the girls innocently said, because Rabbi Leff made our mother Jewish. So since they told them that I made their mother Jewish, so they would mock them all the time and say, you're not really Jewish. We're really Jewish. You're not really Jewish. So she asked me, the girls were very, very hurt. Could I speak to them? So I came to America the next time, I called them in, and I said to them, look, I said, I know I'm Jewish because my parents were Jewish. How do they know they were Jewish? Because their parents were Jewish. We don't know what went back all the way in history, but there's a chazakah. And we assume, not knowing any different, that we're all Jews because of the chazakah. But you're for sure Jews. I know, I made your mother Jewish. There's no suffix by you. You don't even need a chazakah. You are badai Jews. So you go back and tell your girls in your class that you're more Jewish than they are. Because you know for sure you're Jewish, and they only have to rely on a chazakah. Unfortunately, people don't understand how to treat Gerid, and the Sefer HaBris that doesn't only apply to converts. It applies to strangers. Somebody is a stranger in a new place. It's a mitzvah also to recognize how vulnerable they feel, to treat them also with extra respect. Strangers are also, the Sefer HaChinos says, this is included in the mitzvah of Yahavtim es Hager. Not only converts, but strangers. You know, they one story, and then we'll say the Kinos. But story of a shul where there was a very shy person. His name was Binyamin. He never really fit in the social scene in the shul, and he always felt like he was an outsider, a stranger. And then somebody in that shul, in that kehila, got a Filipino for an elderly parent that they had. And everybody in the shul treated the Filipino very, very friendly. Whenever they saw the Filipino, they said hello to them or whatever. This guy said, you know, it's possible that you could say hello to another Jew, not only to Filipinos. I've been in the shul for who knows how long, nobody's ever said hello to me, never bothered with me. Maybe I should be a Filipino and people would pay attention to me. So sometimes, again, the priorities are not there. What's the ikr and what's the tackle? Just one, the Imre Emes, Ger Rebbe, Chassid once came to Mincha, he didn't have his garden. The Rebbe saw him running around looking, whatever, and felt terrible to daven without a gartel. So the Rebbe took off his gartel and he gave it to him. He said, but Rebbe, what are you going to do? He said, wearing the gartel is a minute. Chesed is a mitzvah saseh min HaTorah. I think I'd rather the mitzvah saseh min HaTorah to give you the gartel than to become the mitzvah wearing the gartel over me. People have to remember what priorities are. What's the ikr and what's the tafel. And if you understand that, it's much easier to have avas reim and be nishmar from Sina. We'll say this kina. Immediately after this, we'll say the final kina, the last sion before Elit Sion, which is Sion Geveres Mem Dalet, and then we'll say Elit Sion. Just before we say Elit Sion and before we conclude the last kina, the Rebbe Mikilov in his Kuntre Shali Shlom Yerushalayim says that even though Avas Reim is important for all Jews all over the world, but anybody who comes to Eretz Yisrael and settles in Eretz Yisrael has to be extra careful with Avas Yisrael. Because if we have that schus of living in Eretz Yisrael, and we want, through that, to bring all Jews back here eventually, and Mashiach will come, so we don't want the Saneger to be a Kateger. And if you live in Eretz Yisrael and you don't have Avas Yisrael, you have Sinas Yisrael, then you are duplicating the same Aveira that got us out of Eretz Yisrael the first time. So if you want Eretz Yisrael to be a Saneger and not a Kateger, then people who live in Eretz Yisrael, most certainly when they come to live here, should makabel on themselves extra special to makayim the mitzvah of Avas Yisrael and stay far away from the Isser of Sinas Yisrael. Mitzvah Hashem, if I've given you what to think about, at least realize that this mitzvah is an important mitzvah, very important mitzvah. And it's the way that we'll be able to get up off the floor and be able to come back, smeichim, bevinyan irecha, finally see the kiyum of simcha li'artzecha, the sosam li'irecha, the tzmichas keren l'david avdecha, the arichas ner l'ven yishayim v'shichecha b'nhei ravi. Amen.